All right, folks, we are
It's a
here
good
on the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Kurt Roskoff, and I'm pleased, proud, and privileged again to bring you the Blue Collar Crypto Show with the creator and conductor and main host, Tim Terosian. And we have our friend here, Neil Weber out of Milwaukee, who's going to be also a part of the show with Tim. So, Tim Terosian, take it away. Welcome to your Blue Collar Crypto Show.
Hello. I don't have video today. Hopefully, my co-host Neil Weber, he's got video. And
I unfortunately don't. I'm audio only.
Okay, well, you've got a podcast without any video, so congratulations. There's nothing wrong with just listening. We did that a long time. They call that the radio, and so this is a broadcast. We have very famous broadcasts that were just radio. Come to think of Franklin Delano Roosevelt kind of rescued the economy from the recession, from the depression with just a radio. So Neil is here today. Neil, would you like to reintroduce yourself, or would you like to share something today?
Yes, I would like to do both. Number one, I'm Neil Weber, published author, and currently work at Outpost Natural Foods as a clerk. I would like to say that FDR was a very courageous and great man. He dealt with polio and a crippling disease, but was able to still carry on his duties to the public. And what I really like about him was his fireside chats. His fireside chats inspired millions during the Great Depression because he gave hope to people. He gave hope, and his famous phrase was what? We have nothing to fear but fear itself. And that's what I'd like to share.
Of course. The other part of the story, to add to that is Herbert Hoover was also president during the Depression, and he just didn't know what to do. So Franklin FDR did, Hoover was like, yeah, well, there's a depression. What do I do about it? But so he didn't do anything. The president, Hoover, and when FDR got into office, he got a lot of people, along with people started bringing their money. There was a bank run. Everybody took their money out of the banks. Well, you need money in the banking system, and people were scared. So when Franklin gave his speech, everybody ran back to the banks with, boatloads of money, wheelbarrows full of money, and said, okay, the president says everything's okay. But well, today I'd like to touch on a few things, but I really want to let my co-host have the floor here. Maybe he can share some things. If not, that's okay. Go ahead, Neil.
Well, what I'd like to share was featured in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, where there was a bank in town, and it was run by the uncle of the star, played by Jimmy Stewart. And there was a bank, and unfortunately, the uncle made some mistakes. And Old Man Potter was very greedy, and he wanted the bank to fail because he saw that as a threat to his control of the town. Because he knew that if he could control the money supply, that he'd be in control of the entire town. He owned much of the real estate, much of the land in the area, but he didn't control the bank. And so he wanted the bank to fail. So there was an opportunity where the uncle lost a critical piece of paper, and the greedy owner found that happened, and he wanted to prevent it from being found. So I think there is really a lesson in morality here. Greed never works, because in the end, Jimmy Stewart went through a very difficult time where he had some very deep dreams and dark dreams, and lost his family. He thought he lost his family, and yet he was united at the end when he stood at the bridge and he cried out to God, "Please, God, I want to live. I want to live." And that was a beautiful part of the story. So I really think that fiction, while, obviously it's just fantasy, can be very powerful in telling a story. And those were dark times. But FDR demonstrated leadership and courage. First of all, he had to face his own disease, his own handicap of polio. But in facing that, he also faced leadership of the country. It may be said that he created a welfare state, which he did, but he never intended it. According to a book about Ronald Reagan, he never intended the welfare state to be permanent. That went on later after he left office. But he created this temporary help because there was no help, there was no work. And so he created work for people. He created opportunities for the Hoover Dam to be built and other institutions like that. So that was a great leadership, a great vision. And he put a moratorium on mortgage foreclosures. So people like the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill Wilson, could stay in his home. I think that was very good because it protected the individual, the little guy, from the big banks, which unfortunately did struggle with greed as well. And I believe that there was a great leadership, a great vision for the country, and the country eventually prospered after the preparations began for World War II. And World War II did occur, and in preparing for World War II, it required a massive infusion of cash into the system from the government. And then the government, the country responded by building bombers and tanks and jeeps and all these material aids to propel the war, to propel the country forward to fight the fascist threat. And so there was a real unifying aspect when the Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. It was the biggest mistake they made because they unified the country against the Japanese, German, and Italians. And they didn't know the power they unleashed when they did so. And so I think there was a great leader in FDR and a great person as well. He only revealed his handicap. I wouldn't call it a disability because it didn't stop him from doing what he had to do. But he only revealed his handicap when he gave a public speech near the end of his life, 4 months before he died. And he stood there and it was television was available then, and he stood there before the cameras and revealed that he had crutches. Up until then, he always hid that by leaning on people or leaning on a podium or some way hiding the fact that he had crutches and needed this help. So he was not a weak man, but he had a weakness. And he did everything he could despite this weakness.
I thank you for that, Neil. I just came up FDR puts safeguards in place so that in the future that he knew we were going to have more emergencies on our money, on our faith in the credit of our bank systems. So he put several things into play. I think as we went along, I think FDR created Social Security, which a lot of people didn't like. They thought it was just terrible. It was at one time where we didn't have a federal tax on our income. So it was either FDR or before that. Well, that paid for a lot of, cash infusions into our banking systems, which over time we have had to infuse cash into our banking system just to keep them liquid, because sometimes their banking systems sometimes the banks get kind of naughty. They make bad investments with our money. And they're like, whoops.
Yes, they do sometimes.
Yeah. But today, I'd like to, and I have to mention that it's a Christmas Carol is a wonderful movie. And I like how they localize the the national problem. The run on the bank is a local, how they make it a local, put the local, you know, like you're in the small town, they put you there and you imagine that's your uncle or that's the rich guy in town, that, you know, that we all have in our little towns. Even today, I live next to Epic and the lady next door has 12,000 employees. Well, she has quite a bit more power. I'm not going to mention her name, but she runs a medical records business that's worldwide. And I live in a small town connected to that business, you know, geographically anyway. But how they do it in America, the Christmas carols, they localize it. They take a national epidemic at the time and they personalize it to a person and a family and a small town and what that meant. And I'm just going to really run through this fast today. A couple of trends I see. I think in the future, if crypto keeps going, we're going to start making our own money at home. We're going to start printing our own money.
Wow, that would be quite a revolution.
I see that, and it's the biggest trend today that I can mention. And I'm like, all of a sudden, you know, instead of going to our job and punching in, and instead of the Fed printing all this money, we could just print it at home. We can mine. It's called mining, crypto mining.
Sure.
I know it's something that, like, we've heard about it. Nobody knows what it is. But yeah, you create cryptos in a competitive market. And then the other trend is blockchains replacing corporations. If that's
what is
not
that?
enough,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
well,
Kim, what is that?
Oh, I'd love to explain that. I work with a group. We're creating like 15 blockchains, but instead of a company electing a president and a CEO and a CFO and shareholders and, you know, so a company will create a blockchain. It's much more efficient. There's less. You cannot bankrupt the blockchain. You cannot steal from the blockchain. So it takes away a lot of the haberdashery of the corporation. I can't think of a name, so I made up that one. But the shenanigans.
That's
shenanigans?
a hat-making company.
The shenanigans, right? That go on in corporations.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so yeah, I'm like, and if that's not enough, you know, I mean, they're trends. So, and fortunately, myself and Neil here, we don't have to make those decisions, right? We just,
right.
You know, that's the government. Yeah, right, Neil? I mean,
that's
we
right.
Just,
we are the people. We own the government. The government's supposed to report to us. But unfortunately, that's been reversed because over time, the welfare state has grown so strong and so large, and government has taken over. Government has replaced religion as the modifying force in this country. Unfortunately, people have turned away from religion, which encourages independence and worship of God, and turned to a state which says you should worship the state. And I really don't believe in that philosophy.
Yes. Yes to that. Absolutely. Absolutely. We want harmony. And,
correct.
Yeah. And the government, you know, sometimes they overstep their bounds. Sometimes they print too much money. Okay. So I'm inclined to say yes to all that. I mean, we you know, there's some uncertainty out there, and I was just saying how we hate uncertainty. You know, we would really just like to get our paychecks every week and not worry, you know. But inflation's kind of scared the hell out of a lot of people, and I can see that. And
Yeah.
it just, it's, I guess the other part of inflation was, they were saying in Pennsylvania, it's okay. You know, we used to go to restaurants, spend $30 on the family, and now it's $100. So, hey, you vote with your feet, or you vote with your vote. I mean, you
vote with your pocketbook,
vote.
and you vote with your vote. Yes.
Exactly. So, but this has been a wonderful show. I think let's just keep it right here, 20, 30 minutes. Neil, anytime you come on, you're welcome. And
thank you so much.
yes, and thanks to Kurt Roskoff, Emily Gollmer, and this great state of Wisconsin. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that was our show, and we're just signing off now. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And thank you for Kurt and Emily for administering and leading the show, and leading this organization podcast. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Wait, before you go, I want to ask you something. Can I speak freely, or do we have listeners on? Should I call you on the phone?
We're still live right now.
Okay,
Neil.
can I call you, Emily?
You could call me once we end this live.
Okay, great.
Kurt, do you have anything you'd like to say before I end?
Well, just learning as I go here, Emily, that with everything going on, you're not doing the regular closing, so it sounds like we're
No,
good.
I am. I just want to make sure you wanted to say if you could say something before I ended, if you wanted.
I guess I'll just say thank you to Neil and to Tim and to you, Emily, and to my wife Sue and the whole World of Ability team. Way to go, team.
Way to go, team.
So thank you everybody for tuning in today. Again, we're here every Sunday at 4 and 5:30 p.m. Central for the Blue Collar Crypto Show. Please check out all of our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and so on. And check out all of our partners like the Disability Channel, Zach Clayton of the Pack Channel, Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios, Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, and Earl Williams of the Midwest Plainsman Podcast. All the great work that they do. But I guess until next time, hope